Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, John Nye, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome to another quick episode of Dawgs Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Just me, Josh, with you guys today. Just want to touch on some stuff as free agency gets really ramping up here this week. We've got our top 5 free agents that we want the Browns to be looking at heading into Wednesday. This video should be coming out on either Sunday or Monday. Haven't decided yet, but either way, we want to get a little preview in here so that way before Wednesday happens, we can talk about some of these guys that we're hoping the Browns bring in. I'm not even going to do the whole spiel today. I'm just going to say make sure you follow our socials. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Like this video, hit the notification bell, do all that fun stuff so you never miss any new content coming out. I got the home studio tests going on right now with this video especially. I'm just trying to figure out a way that we can get more Browns content to you guys more consistently, especially, man, we got the offseason's ramping up. Free agency is going to be wild. There's going to be news. There's going to be things happening all the time. And we don't want to be coming with you guys just once a week, kind of recapping the last stuff. We kind of want to be more present with you. So stay tuned, tap the notification bell so you don't miss anything new. And we really appreciate it. Okay, so let's talk about these top 5 free agents that we want the Browns to be looking at. So the way we're going to do this, we're just going to start out with number 1, Top Dog. This is the dude that if the Browns sign this guy, makes the next 2 guys pretty much irrelevant for us. So this is our wish list. It's not that we want all 5 of these guys. It's that we want, at least for the first 3, we want one of these guys, and this is the guy. So we want the Browns to go get Javon Hargrave, defensive tackle, played with the Eagles last year. He was a 3rd-round pick. 89th overall in 2016 by the Steelers. And last year he was part of PFF's number 1 pass rush defense in Philly that we saw go to the Super Bowl. He contributed 66 pressures in 2022. Now he's 30 years old, so he's a little bit older, but he's still, for a defensive tackle, that's not too bad. That's still in kind of late, I don't know, mid to late prime, let's put it that way. Market projection for Javon Hargrave, 3 years, $60 million. Comes out to about $20 million a year. Now that's quite a bit for the Browns right now, but with this Jim Schwartz defense, Jim Schwartz, he loves a productive pass rushing defensive tackle. And Hargrave is without a doubt like the guy to fulfill that role. Hargrave is 6'2", 305 last year, like I said, 60 tackles, 11 sacks from a defensive tackle position. You line that right up next to Miles, and Jim Schwartz is going to have the Browns defense rocking and rolling, okay? He had 10 tackles for loss, 16 quarterback hits, 57 total pressures. He was PFF's 11th ranked defensive tackle last year with a grade of 80.1, but his pass rush grade overall was 91.1, which would put him at number 2 in the entire NFL in 2022. So think about that, guys. We could get Javon Hargrave, the NFL's number 2 pass rushing defensive tackle, line him up on that line next to Myles Garrett. It's going to be crazy. The only 2 players in the league who were better than Hargrave last year were Dexter Lawrence and Chris Jones, 2 studs, and they were at 92.2. Hargrave was at 91.2, so not a whole lot of difference. He is right up there at the top of the top. So like I said, if there's one guy that the Browns need, that we feel anyway, the Browns need to really prioritize heading into free agency on Wednesday, it's Javon Hargrave. If you watched any Browns games last year, defensive line was an absolute joke, especially against the run game. We didn't pressure the quarterback very well. The whole thing was it was just not good. So the hiring of Jim Schwartz this offseason, which, that was Blake's number 1 guy. The rest of us were kind of split between Schwartz, Brian Flores. Some of these other guys didn't sound too bad, but Jim Schwartz was the guy he was the right guy for the job. We strongly believe that. That was Blake's guy from the beginning. But hiring Jim Schwartz to be your defensive coordinator only works if you give him the guys that he needs to execute his game plan. And Javon Hargrave is the guy that Jim Schwartz needs to execute his game plan. That's why we're big on Hargrave, because Hargrave, and then we're going to get to a couple other guys here after this, because if we don't sign somebody, we don't sign one of these guys, a defensive interior with Jordan Elliott and Tommy Togiai and guys of that caliber, that's not the same defense as an interior line with Javon Hargrave. It's not even close. We can't even talk about him in the same breath. So this is very important. This is high priority. That's why, and we'll get to some, safety talk later. There's Jesse Bates talk. There's wide receiver talk. Javon Hargrave needs to be the priority. If you want to see Myles Garrett, our highest paid defender, one of the top edge rushers in the league, if you want to see Myles Garrett truly feast under Jim Schwartz, you have to pair him with the absolute best pass rushing defensive tackle you can get your hands on. And it just so happens that right now, you can get your hands on the number 2 pass rushing defensive tackle in the NFL from 2022 right now. So let's do it. One last quick note on Javon Hargrave. He actually played under Jim Schwartz with the Eagles in 2020. That year in 2020, in 11 starts, Hargrave had 38 tackles and 4.5 sacks in just 11 starts. He has already expressed previously a desire to play under Jim Schwartz again. He loves rushing the passer. That's his thing. Obviously, he's number 2 in the league at doing it. It's what he loves to do, and he loves playing for Jim Schwartz because Jim Schwartz lets him do it, wants him to do it, pushes him to do it. And that's how Jim Schwartz is going to deploy him. This is a perfect case for the Browns to get a player and go out there, see quarterback, hit quarterback. Okay, number 2, if we miss out on Javon Hargrave, the defensive tackle, you know what? There's a consolation prize, and it's not too shabby. We can go after the former Ohio State Buckeye himself, Dre'Mont Jones. All right? So let's get Dre'Mont Jones, formerly of the Denver Broncos, in here in Cleveland, back in the Buckeye State, OHIO, all that great stuff. Bring him home. Let's deploy the 6'3", 281-pound versatile defensive lineman. And when I say versatile, it's because Dre'Mont Jones can rush the passer from inside and outside. You put him in the interior of the defensive line, he can rush there, and you can put him on the edge opposite Myles Garrett, and he can rush from that side too. So Dre'Mont Jones gives the Browns some versatility that, a lot of these other defensive tackles don't, because they're slotted for one role only. Now, Dre'Mont Jones is going to be a pricier too. He's currently projected at a 4-year, $68.5 million deal. That contract will put him around $17 million a year. So it's slightly under what Hargrave's projected at. Still pricey for the defensive line, but like we said, that's got to be the priority. Absolutely has to be. So if we can't get Hargrave, let's go after Dre'Mont Jones. Dre'Mont Jones is younger than Hargrave. He's 26. And there's still room for him to continue to ascend. He has been ascending throughout his seasons. In 13 games last year with the Broncos, Jones had 6.5 sacks, 47 tackles, 9 tackle for loss, and 10 quarterback hits. With the Browns lacking of a high-level edge rusher, like I said, opposite Myles Garrett, this would give Jim Schwartz a defensive lineman that he can move inside, outside. He can create unique mismatches along the line between Jones and Garrett and whoever else. I mean, we've got other guys that can fill roles there. We've got Alex, right? We've got some of these players that we can finagle around that defensive line if we had some of this versatility, which I think would really benefit us. One great thing, Jones has a 15.9% pass rush win rate lined up when he's on the inside. You know what that ranked? 6th in the NFL last year, according to NFL's Next Gen Stats.
This episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Spring is in the air, and that can only mean one thing: spring grilling. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to spring into something delicious with their semi-annual sale. With 50% off site-wide, grab all your favorites like perfectly aged, tender steaks, ocean-fresh seafood, juicy burgers, incredible air-chilled chicken, and decadent desserts. Plus, when you go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code DAWGS, D-A-W-G-S at checkout, you'll get an extra $30 off your order. It's the perfect way to get fired up and spring into something special. Don't wait. Go to omahasteaks.com, use code DAWGS at checkout. Take advantage of this deal right now. Omaha Steaks is ready to ship your order right away, and you're going to want to hurry because 50% off site-wide is only happening for a limited time. So don't miss your chance to save big right now. Visit omahasteaks.com, use code DAWGS, D-A-W-G-S at checkout. Get that additional $30 off when you shop their semi-annual sale today. Minimum order may be required. This episode is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. The action never ends at DraftKings Sportsbook, especially this summer. With tons of ways to bet on all your favorite sports, you can fuel your fandom and feel the heat of the season like never before. Plus, right now, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving new customers a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's right. Make your first bet up to $1,000, and if it doesn't win, you'll get another shot to cash in. You can throw down on all the major action for baseball, golf, MMA, and more. Plus, with same-game parlays, spreads, money lines, over-unders, and props, your betting options feel endless. Best of all, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code TPPN. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code TPPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
Okay, we're just going to keep moving here. So at number 3. Now this is Javon Hargrave's gone. We didn't get him. We missed out on Dre'Mont Jones. We didn't get him. Well, there are other defensive tackles that the Browns can look at. A little more of a bargain price here and there. Guys that will still fit the Jim Schwartz role, but not to the degree and to the level that Hargrave or Dre'Mont Jones would fill it. So number 3 on our list, if those first 2 guys are gone, we don't get them. We want to stick on that defensive line as a priority, but now let's look at that edge rusher opposite Myles Garrett. Let's talk about Yannick Ngaque. Ngaque, like Hargrave and Jones, he was a 3rd-round pick. He was selected 69th overall in 2016 by the Jaguars. Now, his situation was interesting. He got franchise tagged by the Jaguars in 2020. They were looking for a trade partner for him. He got traded to the Vikings, played 6 games, got traded to the Ravens. Then he spent a season after he signed with the Raiders after that, and then he got traded to the Colts. So he's been on quite a few teams so far, but he's never lacked of production. So I'm not 100% sure what the moving around all has been with Yannick Ngaque, but he's always been a player that I've liked. And I know the Browns and Ngaque actually had a mutual interest back in 2020 when the Jags were looking for that trade partner. It just never came to fruition for the Browns to bring him in back then. But right now, it could. Ngaque, like I said, he's been productive everywhere he's gone. He has 65 total sacks in his 7 seasons, 19 and a half sacks in just the last 2 years. And he's never had less than 8 sacks in a single season. So, like I said, you might remember his name from back in 2020. Now would be a really good time for him to find that consistent home with a team. And if it could be with the Browns, you know what? Like I said, if we miss out on those first 2 guys, this guy would be a great fit. He would complement Myles Garrett very well. Spot Track has his market value right now at probably signing about a 4-year deal, $59 million worth around $14.8 million a year. So as far as contracts are concerned, you can kind of look at him as the replacement for Jadeveon Clowney, but sort of in an opposite role. So where Jadeveon Clowney was not that great of an actual pass rusher, he was more of a run defender, and Ngaque is a pure pass rusher. This guy gets after the quarterback, noted by his sack totals. He's very good at that. Now, on the flip side, his run defense is not all that great. So, you're kind of trading one out for the other, so there will still be holes in the defense. But Yannick Ngaque presents a very good opportunity for the Browns to continue to build a defensive line geared to getting after the quarterback. Okay, now, number 4, this is the last defender on our free agent list here. And obviously we have to go heavy defense because 1, the Browns have 68% of their total salary cap right now wrapped up in the offensive side of the ball. It's time to spend money on the defense. We know the defense was the weak spot last year. We would have won how many more games last year if it hadn't been for the poor defensive play? So that is definitely the priority. So number 4, we've got our first non-defensive lineman on the defensive side. And we're going to talk about a safety. But like I said at the beginning of the video, we are not going to be talking about Jessie Bates. Now I want to talk about Buckeye number 2 on the list, Jessie Bates' former teammate in Cincinnati, Vonn Bell. Vonn Bell's stats in 2022, 16 starts, 77 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions and 8 passes defended. Okay, his PFF grade, 66.3 overall, 63.6 versus the run, 65.5 versus the pass. Spot Track has his projected contract right now at 3 years, $29 million for an average of $9.7 million a year. That's, getting under that $10 million is pretty good considering that right now the reports that Jessie Bates is going to be somewhere between the $14 to $16 million a year range. And I just don't think that's worth it for a safety whenever, I don't feel like there's that large of a gap between Jessie Bates and Vonn Bell as far as what you're going to be asked to do in a Jim Schwartz defense. Vonn Bell has the pedigree of a strong on-field leader in the secondary. He's 28 years old. He's a 7-year-old veteran, and I feel like he would really mix in well with veteran Pro Bowler Denzel Ward. And guys like developing youngsters like Greg Newsome II, Grant Delpit, these guys in the secondary, I think it's going to be a good mix. I think we need a little bit more veteran presence and leadership in that area of the defense. And Vonn Bell he's been very good throughout his career. He started 48 total games in 3 seasons with the Bengals. He is very sound against the run, which I've harped on from the beginning of this video. Our run defense was complete but last year, so it's time to really upgrade that. His run defense grade, PFF, was 88.7 over the past 5 seasons. That is 8th best among safeties. So we're getting the 8th best run-stopping safety over the past 5 seasons. What did I say, 5 seasons? Yeah. That's awesome. That's the type of player we want to add to our team. And for the money, I think that it's a bargain. I really do. I think that he can fill that role. I think that he can help that defense grow. And any other young guys that we bring in, any other younger free agents that we can get on a good deal, a rookie or two that come in through the draft, whatever it may be, guys like D'Anthony Bell from last year, our guy, these guys can all learn from this veteran presence. Vonn Bell would be absolutely a great grab for the Browns. The 7-year veteran, he's shown his ability in coverage as well over the past 2 seasons. He's posted 2 consecutive years with a coverage grade above 65, and that would have made him the top-ranked safety on the Browns last year, according to PFF. So he's already better than anyone we had on the team last year. And one last thing that Vonn Bell does very well that the Browns could use is coverage of tight ends. Opposing teams just exploit us left and right with the tight end. It's like we don't even know how to cover them. Vonn Bell can fill that role and fix that problem. Okay, finally, last but not least, it's time to get us a little bit fun offensive help. Okay, we want to talk about, and we kind of already talked about this on last week's episode, but let's talk a little bit more about wide receiver free agent Parris Campbell. Yes, I know he's our 3rd Ohio State Buckeye on this list, and I know you might want to say that's because I'm an Ohio State alum, but the Buckeyes just put out damn good NFL talent year in and year out, and you're seeing that through. Now, these guys weren't all the same draft class. Dre'Mont Jones, Vonn Bell, Parris Campbell. Ohio State just knows how to get guys ready for the NFL. And if the Browns can take advantage of that, awesome. Okay, so let's kind of roll through this real quick because, like I said, we already discussed Parris Campbell in a previous episode. But the more I read into Parris Campbell, the more I look at him, and the more I really see the fit with the Browns. So Parris Campbell was drafted by the Colts in the 2nd round in 2019. His first 3 seasons with the Colts were ended early by injury. But here in 2022, Parris Campbell actually played in all 17 games for the first time ever. He came out with 63 receptions for 623 yards and 3 touchdowns. And if you guys remember correctly, he was catching passes from the ghost of Matt Ryan and Sam Ehlinger, who was, I don't know why he was deemed a necessary starter last year by the Colts, but that's what they did. And still, Campbell had, in terms of his career and in terms of his situation, that was a breakout year for Parris Campbell. Campbell is a fast downfield threat. Like we said, before, he can open up the offense. He can also make plays on end arounds and sweeps. His NFL draft athleticism score was ranked number 1 among wide receivers when he came out in 2019. He runs a 4.3 140. He ran 82% of his snaps last year from the slot. He only had 3 drops on 91 targets for a rate of 4.5. That's really good, okay? His contested catch rate was 33%. Just to give you some reference, 33% contested catch rate, that was better than guys like Deebo Samuel, Adam Thielen, and Jerry Jeudy. Parris Campbell is the perfect replacement for a guy that we're ready to ship out of town, and that's Anthony Schwartz. Anthony Schwartz has not filled his role whatsoever with the Browns in 2 years. He's shown no signs at all of being able to do so. It's time to get a guy in here who has shown that he can do it. It's what he was drafted to do. I know those first 3 seasons with Indy were rough with the injuries, but the nice thing about Parris Campbell is nobody's asking him to be a number 1 or a number 2 receiver on the team. You're asking him to come in and perform his specific role. You got Amari Cooper already. He's a legit number 1 receiver in the NFL. He's a beast. Donovan Peoples-Jones is continuing his ascension. He is a solid number 2 receiver. We're good there. I expect David Bell to take a step forward this year. I'll be very disappointed if he does not. He showed flashes last year much more than Anthony Schwartz ever showed as a rookie. I just don't think he had the opportunities last year. So I think his opportunities increase this year. I think a full season under his belt, a good preseason, a good summer, good training camp. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that'll really help David Bell. You throw Parris Campbell into this mix, I think you've got a very good selection of options at your disposal on the offense. And the nice thing about Parris Campbell, we talked about this again, he's projected at a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. So if the Browns can get him for $2.5 million, that's a very reasonable price for what could end up being a much higher value production on the field. For reference, like I said before, a $2.5 million deal is somewhere just under 1% of the Browns salary cap. So if you can allocate just under 1% of the salary cap to a guy who can absolutely open up your offense, I think it's a no-brainer. Okay, and that's it. That was the top 5 guys. Like I said, not all 5 guys we want the Browns to sign. The first 3 are options A, B, C. If we don't get A, we want B. If we don't get B, we want C. And then we've got number 4, number 5, safety Vonn Bell, and we wrapped it up with Parris Campbell. But, just to touch on a couple things real quick, I've seen a lot of people talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the safety from the Eagles last year. Good player. He's going to be a little more expensive, like Jesse Bates is going to be. And I think the Browns can fill that safety role with, without spending that kind of money. I think we can get it done. I know Gardner-Johnson has been linked to the Browns. We'll see. We'll just kind of see what happens with that. Moving to the wide receiver position again, I've seen people talking about Mecole Hardman as an option. He's projected to be a lot more expensive than a guy like Parris Campbell. And the thing with Mecole Hardman is he spent his entire rookie contract on the Kansas City Chiefs, on the best offense in football, with the best head coach in Andy Reid, the best offensive mind, the best quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, and he did nothing. He did essentially nothing in his career so far. So I don't see the upside in paying more money to a guy like Mecole Hardman than a guy like Parris Campbell, who's actually shown that when he's healthy and whenever he's playing consecutive games in a season, he's very good. I'm just not impressed with Mecole Hardman. I'm trying to think if there's any other receivers that I've seen people talking about. Adam Thielen, I know, is a hot name right now, especially with his connection with Kevin Stefanski. Me personally, and we'll get the other guy's opinion on the show later in the week, Adam Thielen is a great player. His career has been extraordinary. It really has. He's an absolute stud. The guy, while his production as far as, receptions and yards and all that has declined as he's gotten older, I think he's 32 now, his touchdowns are still high. The guy can score touchdowns. I'm just not sure that Adam Thielen's the type of guy that fits in with what the Browns want to do on offense. I think if you're trying to open this thing up, like it's been reported, if you're trying to let Deshaun Watson go out there and throw the ball, 35 to 40 times a game, we're going to want speed, we're going to want youth, we're going to want stamina. That's the kind of stuff we're going to want. I think Adam Thielen would be a better safety blanket type receiver for an older quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers, somebody who kind of maybe a Jimmy Garoppolo, wherever he ends up, that kind of thing. I think Deshaun Watson would be better suited with a guy like Parris Campbell. There's guys in the draft we talk about. I know there's Tyler Scott's a name that's getting floated around from Cincinnati. We talked about Jaden Reed from Michigan State. There are guys out there who can fill the role that we need at wide receiver. So that's kind of my spiel on Thielen and Mecole Hardman. And if any of these other guys, their names pop up, we'll talk about them. So drop them in the comments, let us know, and we'll find a way to fit in on one of the next shows so we can discuss it, what you guys want to talk about. So really appreciate you guys tuning in today. Let me know what you think of this list. And until we talk to you guys again, go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.